Hello, this is Beverly from scrapandthread.blogspot.com. I just finished making this adorable box using the new Cricut cartridge from close to my heart called Artiste, and a few questions came up while I was making it, so I thought that other people might have these questions as well, so I thought I'd go over some of the things that I discovered as I was making it. There are about 700 different cuts on this cartridge, and many of them are 3D objects or cards or envelopes, so I wanted to address this because these things will be relevant for many of the different cuts. This is what the cartridge looks like, and you can see some of those 3D objects on there. Inside that little envelope is a petal card, and the card, the envelope, and the box were all from the same page in the Artiste Handbook. You'll find these on page 40. There's the card option and then the 3D option. The box is there's the sides, and then with the shift key there's the top and the bottom of the box. So you need two of those pieces. The card is a petal card, and then next to it is the envelope. So both of these items use their regular button or their regular key, the card key and the 3D object key, but in order to get those second shapes, the envelope and the top and bottom of the box, you need to push the shift key for those. And then up on the top corner there where there's that little green oval, it says 11. And what that stands for is the instructions for the 3D objects. There's a handbook that's put out in conjunction with the cartridge. It's called the Artiste Assembly Instructions Handbook, and inside there you would reference whatever that green oval number is. So in this case it was page 11, and this shows you all of the instructions for assembly. There's no words in there, it's all diagrams, and it shows you the directions of the folds. It shows you which ways to glue which flap first, and so on, and then you just assemble it following those instructions. It's very simple. You don't need a lot of instructions to be able to do this, but it is helpful to have pictures to follow along sometimes. So even though this isn't tricky to assemble, you may have questions based on what you see in the pictures there. They have pictures of glue bottles, like Elmer's glue for instance. I've been using the Tombow Mono adhesive tape runner without any problems whatsoever. So my advice is use adhesive that you're comfortable with using, and depending on the kind of paper you're using may dictate whether or not you need to use wet glue. One of the things you'll notice as you're working with all these wonderful shapes is that the Cricut makes perforated cuts on the various fold lines. Because of that, you may notice the white core from the cardstock, or in using pattern paper, there's also the white inside part of the paper. So I like to ink up the edges on all of my projects when it's got a fold like that so that the inside isn't showing. And in this particular case, I used close to my heart Smoky Plum, which is one of my favorite colors for these tones. Because I showed you that Smoky Plum ink, I want to explain something about this La Belle Vie paper. They're doing something new this campaign, and that is that they are offering some exclusive cardstock colors that are not available separately. They're only available with the paper packet. So you'll get 2 each of the patterned papers like you normally would, and these are double-sided, so there's 6 pieces of the patterned paper. And then in this particular case you get 2 pieces of black and a piece of bamboo, which are the standard, those are standard close to my heart colors, but then they also offered this time 2 colors that coordinated with the pattern paper, and there's 2 pieces of this and 1 piece of the pink. And one of the questions that I know one of my customers has already had is this the same as Smoky Plum? And it's not. This is Smoky Plum, and this is the piece that comes with the La Belle Vie. So if you're inking it, I would choose something that's somewhat similar, and I happen to like Smoky Plum. I use it a lot.
and so it's in the same tone, and I thought that it would work out okay. But really, you know, it's totally up to you, personal preference, whatever you prefer. But just so you are aware, it is a separate color, and it's not separately available. So when you're cutting it, one of the things to know is what size do you cut the box? Well, the first thing to know is that it'll tell you right in your booklet that that it'll be 5 inches tall. And that tells you that right here, or 13 centimeters. So it's 5 inches tall, and you know that because the arrow goes up and down. It's a vertical arrow. So that is the size that I cut mine at. I have a 12 by 12 mat, and I cut it at the 5 inches without any problems. The lid is also cut at 5 inches, and I cut the box sides out of this patterned paper. It's double-sided. The stripes are on the other side. This is the piece that's left over from it. I would have been able to make 2 boxes from it, but I decided to make the envelope for my gift enclosure out of this paper as well. So just so you're aware of the fact, if you're making party favors or whatever, so you can plan accordingly, you can get 2 boxes out of your paper. And then this is the exclusive cardstock that came with it, and as I said, you need 2 pieces, one for the top and one for the bottom. I used the regular cardstock and then stamped, actually a few stamps. I stamped the new set called Jardin, which has a bunch of different really beautiful images on here, and I just randomly stamped it over the piece of cardstock prior to folding it. And then there was, this set I got as the workshop on the go, and really the main reason why I did was because I wanted this stamp set. So I also stamped the Magnifique banner here on this part as well. But any kind of stamping you want to do is fine as long as you're happy with it, really. I mean, that's truly all that matters. So when you're doing this, then what you would do is if you do decide to stamp, then you fold it up. I would use a bone folder because you want to get really nice crisp lines, and by using a bone folder you are ensuring that you'll be able to put everything together and it'll fit together the way it's supposed to, and you won't have any wonky sides or anything. So I would encourage you, if you don't have a bone folder, to get one or use something that's like a bone folder, because I think that'll help you with what you're doing. And then this little envelope and the card I cut at 4 inches. And as I showed you before, that was cut out of the same patterned paper that is the sides here. And and then you just fold it up and you put the adhesive on the inside parts of the flaps and then fold this in. I did end up stamping the little bee from the Jardin set on here to add a little bit more interest. I stamped it on here, but this has a pretty little cutout decorative feature there also. So this was cut at 4 inches, and you can see that this is not 4 inches. But the reason why it's considered 4 inches is because the card that goes along with it was also cut at 4 inches. And when it's all folded up into its petal fold, that's about 2.5, maybe 2.25 inches in diameter. But this is what it looks like when it's cut. That's the reverse side. So you can see that the 4-inch measurement is when it's open. So that I think is important for people to know, because then that tells you how much space you're going to have to write on inside. I wanted to make sure that I had a lighter color in here, so I did stick a 2-inch scallop punched piece of bamboo in here. I did stamp this bamboo ink on top of bamboo to give it a little bit more texture and dimension. But this is big enough to write a little message and certainly put your signature. Now, one of the other questions that people might have is, well, how do you get this to stay closed? Well, it's pretty easy. You just put the flaps down underneath, and you continue along around the petals to make them all go underneath, and you don't need any adhesive at all. It just stays in place once you get them all pushed down. So it's very simple, and it's really cute. And then as I showed you, it will fit right in that envelope. So you can, if you want to put, you know, lighter color paper, you can use plain cardstock. You don't need to use decorative paper. I like using decorative paper for these kinds of things because I think it just adds another little bit of interest and dimension to the project. And then I took, there's a little strip of paper along the top of each piece of patterned paper, and on each of these it has some kind of a design, and on the back side it tells you what the name of the paper is and also the coordinating colors that go along with it. So I took one of the strips, each one has a different, each piece of paper has a different strip. I took one of the strips off the piece of paper and I used that and just glued it along around the top for the perimeter, and I thought that that made kind of a nice touch also. And then the last thing was I used the Smoky Plum re-inker, and I mixed it with a little bit of water, stuck it in a little plastic bowl with some of the Color Ready seam binding, shook it all up and let it dry, and then I made my bow and put that around the package and added a little accent here. These are little metal, they come as a set, and these are little metal bows. There's a black one, and I think there's also a flower that comes with it. There's one of each in black and kind of a pinkish mauve color. And I just slid it right in there, and that's how I added that extra little embellishment.
You can see with very little time involved, you make a really nice little gift for somebody, and I think it's a lot of fun to make these. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment or visit my blog at scrapandthread.blogspot.com. Thanks so much.